Welcome to Johnson Brothers. We're going to be doing another kind of a special episode for you guys today. We had some people who had commented and mentioned that as we had asked you guys if you wanted us to talk more about America and the end times, based on our Israel and war in the Middle East and end times episode, that we would talk more about America. We said, the Bible says this. We can't prove it today, but we could. And some of you guys requested that, and so that's what we're going to be doing today. So hopefully you guys enjoy it because this is what you guys had asked for. I wanted to call out a few specific comments that we had just because they're pretty funny, and also some of you guys. Colby, I know you said definitely would love pre-World War I Middle East history. I'll give you my dad's phone number. You guys can talk about that. And the leopard being United States of America laid out. So again, one of those comments that of what we're doing today. And then also, I'm not seeing it right here, but I believe Noah Potts, I believe you asked for the same thing. You wanted to get more in depth into the countries and the leopard and America and all that stuff. Rob Wilson, I did not realize I completely misunderstood the episode about circumcision. Just went and got uncircumcised, had a good donor. It was a quick outpatient surgery, snip, snap, snip, snap. Thanks, guys. But yeah, so Rob, I think you might just have to start calling us before you make these life-altering decisions and just make sure of what we're talking about before you make these big decisions. And then we've had some other comments recently of people who don't agree with us, which is fine as well. We openly welcome that. Doesn't mean we agree. Obviously, they disagree with us. We have reasons for what we believe. And, we'll do episodes in the future on those specific topics, and we'll be able to talk more about those things. But for now, we'll just leave it to the warriors in the comments.
Comment warriors.
Comment warriors. But today, we're going to be diving in. If you want to open up your Bibles with us, or if you're driving, then don't open your Bibles. Just listen along. But if you are able to open up your Bibles or your phones or whatever you want to use, we're going to be in Daniel chapter 2. Daniel chapter 7, and in Revelation chapter 13. We might dip into 17 as well. And by the way, before we get into that, we want to make sure and introduce to you guys so you're not confused about who is this guy over here that is with us today. So what happened was our brother Micah, who's sitting over there behind the cameras, he looks like he's been rolling around in cat fur all night, and his eyes are red and shot. Because why, Jaden? Why did you say that was? What happened?
I don't know.
You said he was up really late.
Oh yeah, it's because he was up late. Rick Lafferty was up late. And he was TPing you. That's why.
Second, why? This is breaking news.
Hopefully Rick watches this. I don't know if he does.
So anyway, Micah was up late last night, and so he wasn't prepared. He wasn't responsible, so he doesn't get to sit with us today. But Corey was responsible.
Cameraman
He
Corey.
even got himself all shaved up. You guys wouldn't have anything compared to because you normally don't see him because he's behind the camera for a few reasons. But here he is today. See, don't agree before you know what I'm going to say. Like you agreed with.
Guys, he was up late studying. He was up till 3 o'clock playing Call of Duty, I think he said last night.
Was he really?
Yeah.
I'm happy to be able to fill in today. Contrary to what Caleb said, I did not study, so hopefully I have some good insight. But just happy to be able to fill the slot.
That'll actually probably be a good gauge for us to be able to know if it's confusing. I mean, you've heard us kind of talking a little bit this morning.
Yeah.
If it's getting confusing, or in fact, Micah sometimes doesn't do this, and we want him to. But if you would do it today, if you're like, hey, this or that, that might be confusing to people because you're hearing some of these things for the first time or recently. You said.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I just started going to our church, it's coming up on a year now.
Wow.
And I'm learning, honestly, a lot of new things, even though I went to church pretty much my whole life. But so, yeah, I can kind of play, for lack of a better term, devil's advocate on that.
Well, don't do that.
For the layman.
No, I'm just joking. But yeah, that would be great if you do. And if there's things that it's like, this isn't clear, or maybe let's clear that up, that'd be a great time to be able to do that. So we're going to start in Daniel 2. And look, guys, these things this morning we're looking at, they're pretty confusing. Some of them, I wouldn't say they're confusing. I'd say that they are complicated. They are deep things of the Word of God. And so we're going to try and bring it to the surface as much as we can. But some of it is just years and years of studying that really would prove the point more and more. But we're going to try and do our best this morning. And so if you would, again, we're going to Daniel chapter 2. And we'll start off in Daniel 2 to get some background. Caleb, do you want to read what we need to read in Daniel?
Yeah, I'm already there. So context of Daniel 2, King Nebuchadnezzar had a dream, and in that dream, it really flustered him a lot. Actually, he started kind of losing his mind a little bit, started killing people that couldn't interpret the dream as wise men, and he calls upon Daniel, and I believe Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego to help interpret the dream.
Hananiah, Mishael, and
Azariah.
His name?
Azariah.
Dad would not like you saying it the other way.
Yeah, that's true. But anyway, and so he calls Daniel forward. Daniel says basically, hey, I can interpret the dream. Daniel comes in and he interprets the dream. Now we pick up in Daniel chapter 2, verse 31, because it's kind of a cool story. Nebuchadnezzar wasn't telling anyone what the dream was because he's like, if you guys can interpret the dream, you should be able to just know what it was because your God should be that powerful. So Daniel comes in, and this is what he says. Verse 31, thou, O king, speaking about Nebuchadnezzar, sawest and behold a great image. This great image, whose brightness was excellent, stood before thee, and the form thereof was terrible. This image's head was of fine gold, his breast and his arms of silver, his belly and his thighs of brass, his legs of iron, his feet part of iron and part of clay. Thou sawest till that a stone was cut out without hands, which smote the image upon his feet that were of iron and clay, and brake them to pieces. Right, and so what we see here is there's this image that Nebuchadnezzar had a dream of, and in that image, the head was of fine gold. It's this basically this giant statue is the picture that we think of. The head was of fine gold. The chest area and the arms were of silver. The belly, the abdominal, and the thighs of brass, and the legs were iron, and the feet were iron mixed with clay. Now this is all going to get important here as we start to break this down, but this is the vision that Nebuchadnezzar had saw. Now if you fast forward here a little bit, we're going to start breaking some of this down just to get a good lay a good context. So verse 37, Daniel says, all right, hey, this is your dream. I'm going to tell you what it means. Thou, O king, Nebuchadnezzar, are a king of kings, for the God of heaven hath given thee a kingdom, power, strength, and glory. And wheresoever the children of men dwell, the beasts of the field and the fowls of the heaven, he hath given into thine hand. And then fast forward, thou art this head of gold. So the Bible usually tells you what it means. So who's the head of gold? Nebuchadnezzar.
Yeah, and this would be a good point to throw in that in the Bible, kings and kingdoms are interchangeable in God's view.
Yes.
Because the king here, he says, you, Nebuchadnezzar, are the head of gold. He's the king of Babylon. So Nebuchadnezzar, Babylon are the head of gold.
Yes.
And this is clear later when he tells us.
Well, even in verse 37, it says, God of heaven hath given thee a kingdom. Talking to Nebuchadnezzar, verse 38, thou art this head of gold, is the king. So he's the king. You see the king and the kingdom in 37 and 38 interchangeable.
And even one step further, you have a king, 37. The king has a kingdom, and that kingdom has power. So what do we see? Kings, kingdoms, and power are always going to be tied in together. That's just how it is. So then you get the end of 38, you find out, okay, in this picture, in this statue, it means something more than just a statue. Nebuchadnezzar, you're the head. You're the head of gold that in this statue. What does that mean? Well, let's find out. And after thee, verse 39, after you, Nebuchadnezzar, there shall arise another kingdom that is inferior to thee. So not quite as big, not quite as strong as you, and another third kingdom of brass, which shall bear rule over all the earth. And so more kingdoms are going to come after you. And the fourth kingdom shall be strong as iron. For as much as iron breaketh in pieces and subdueth all things, and as iron that breaketh all these things shall it break in pieces and bruise. And whereas thou sawest the feet and toes, part of potter's clay and part of iron, the kingdom shall be divided, but there shall be in it of its strength of the iron, for as much as thou sawest the iron mixed with miry clay. And as the toes of the feet were part of iron and part of clay, so the kingdom shall be partly strong and partly broken. So that's where I'm going to stop. All this is saying is, Nebuchadnezzar, you are the head of gold. Now, after you and after your kingdom, because your kingdom is going to fall, Daniel says, there's going to be another kingdom. Well, that kingdom is going to be represented in the silver, in the in the chest and the arms. And after that kingdom, there's going to come another kingdom, which is going to be as the brass, which would be the abdomen and the thighs of this statue. And then another kingdom, a fourth kingdom, is going to come after that, and that's going to be the iron. All right, the iron, which would be the legs. And then there is one more that we're going to get into a little bit today and talk more so about, which would be the feet, which is the iron mixed with clay. So it has portions of that fourth kingdom, which would be the iron, but it also has mixed with clay. And we're going to get into all this. We just wanted to lay this context of this statue is talking about kingdoms that are to come after Daniel and after Babylon has fallen.
Can I butt in here real fast?
Yeah, go ahead.
So this is really important with Daniel too. Daniel, once you start to see this, again, it might sound confusing at first, but once you see it, it becomes very much more clear. Daniel 2 is the first prophecy in order. I actually think the book of Daniel is not in order in many ways.
No, it's not at all.
Chronologically.
Yeah.
But Daniel 2 is the first one in the order God gives us it in the Bible, because this vision, this image is the one. It's like the first. I'm actually teaching on it tomorrow for our church in Milheim. Is the parable of the soils and the seed and the sower. Jesus gives that And then he defines what these things are.
Yep.
These common themes you see in the rest of the parables, what the fowls are, what the seed is, what the ground is. So Daniel 2 is like that. He gives you the key to understanding the other visions later, because really nobody, and now there might be somebody out there, but if you're listening, this is not just our opinion. Really nobody out there disagrees with what this image is and who these kingdoms are. Pretty much everybody understands and realizes, no matter what walk of belief you're from, that okay, because Nebuchadnezzar was the head of gold. Okay, well then in history next came Media Persia, and they were the arms and breasts of silver, and then next was Greece, which was the brass, and then next was iron, which was Rome historically, and everybody pretty much gets that. And even further, most people understand that iron goes into this final 10. Keep this in, this is really important. Keep this stored in the back of your mind. That iron, Romanism, goes all the way, those iron legs, into the iron mixed with clay, 10-toed final kingdom that is then destroyed by Jesus' kingdom when he shows up. Did you read those verses about that?
I
Let me
the
read
stone
that
comes
really
up.
fast. In Daniel 2:44, well, let's go 34 to 35. Thou sawest till that a stone that was cut without hands, which smote the image upon his feet that were iron and clay, and break them to pieces. So there's this final iron and clay, 10-toed kingdom, which all we know about it is that Rome or some Roman nature is part of that kingdom, because Rome is the iron.
Yep.
Like nobody disputes that Rome is the iron, that the split of the two legs is like the schism, the great schism that happened in church history, the Orthodox and Roman church. All of that is pretty well documented. So then Rome goes all the way into this final 10-toed kingdom that is then destroyed by Jesus' second coming, which is again here. Then that one's the iron, the clay, the brass, the silver, and the gold broken to pieces together, and the stone that smote the image became a great mountain and filled the whole earth. Okay, that's the vision. What's the interpretation? Verse 44 and 45. And in the days of these kings, the 10 toes, 10 kings, shall the God of heaven set up a kingdom which shall never be destroyed. And it shall break in pieces, oh, that's what the mountain did to the image, and consume all these kingdoms, and it shall stand forever. Oh, the mountain that filled the whole earth. For as much as thou sawest that the stone was cut out of the mountain without hands, that it break in pieces the iron, the brass, the clay, the silver, and the gold. He's telling you that's what this is. This Jesus brings in, he doesn't say Jesus, but we know now the second coming, Jesus' kingdom comes in at second coming, destroys that final kingdom, and then sets up his eternal kingdom at that point.
Yep.
Right? And that is exactly what he's teaching here. And so what do we know from that? This one is going to help us to interpret Daniel 7 and Revelation 13. We know that there are these kingdoms in this order in God's book of things, of this order of power.
Yep.
Babylon, Media Persia, Greece, and then Rome, and then jump forward 2,000 years from Rome that was in power all 2,000 years ago. They, in God's opinion, God's vision, interpretation he gave, they were in power in some form all the way till the second coming.
Yeah.
We find out in Revelation 17 that was in a mystery form of power. You might think, well, Rome isn't in power today. Well, Revelation 17 teaches they are in mystery form and in religious form. Because think about it. The schism, the two legs, is two religious organizations. Now, that kind of gives us a key to understanding the other ones. But you guys have any thoughts on that? Corey, do you have any thoughts on that so far? Does that make sense, or is that confusing so far?
No, I think that's really good to point out the fact that the iron goes down into the toes as well. There's not that clear separation there. It kind of continues.
Absolutely.
I do think one other thing to think about is when Daniel wrote this, all right, this was around, I think it's around 500, right around
603 BC is
yeah,
what
500-600
but, yeah.
BC. So when he wrote this, Babylon was the head power, it was the world power at that time. So Daniel wrote this looking ahead around really 2,000 years forward.
Yeah.
Okay. We are looking backward.
Yeah.
To Daniel's point. So when Daniel is looking ahead, all right, he's predicting what's to come. He's saying these other nations are going to come and they're going to run the world. And then they did historically. We have historical accurate proof that there was major world powers being Medo-Persia, Greece, Rome, and that those existed. Okay, so he was looking ahead. Now we can look back and we can say historically, yes, that happened. And so when you use history to confirm the Bible says something and you can use history to confirm those facts, man, it makes it so much stronger. So that's another point. And then we can fill in the gaps as we're going to go to Daniel, I believe 7 now, even a little bit more. You guys want to go to Daniel 7
Yeah.
now?
So just as we're leaving here, keep in mind that like Caleb said, Babylon's in charge right now, and God gives this, and He clearly tells him, "You have a kingdom that reaches over the whole earth." Right. So they're in strong power at this point.
Yeah.
And
Do you want to point out the degrading that goes from the
I thought about
gold
it.
down to the toes, or
Mm.
so
But-
basically
Go ahead,
it starts with gold and it goes down to silver, brass, iron, clay, and it's really it degrades, from gold goes down to silver in weight, in beauty, in value even. It really, again, I don't think it's a coincidence that it starts with a head of gold and it just slowly goes down over time. I guess why.
Do you want to hear the reason that maybe people find this interesting? The reason that I've heard that this is, and Larkin gives it, and it's
Yeah,
actually, I think, really, really good, is it that Babylon was the most powerful, and then Media Persia, then Greece, then Rome? Is that it?
No.
No. Rome
Rome's
was
the
much
most
more
powerful.
powerful than any of those.
Yeah.
That is 100%
But
not.
actually, it said that they got more powerful as they go in Daniel, didn't it?
No, they become more inferior. It says that
Or
they were
inferior?
inferior. Yeah.
I thought.
After these shall arise another kingdom inferior to thee, and another third kingdom.
Yeah, you're
So all he's at least saying is that the one after is inferior,
Yeah.
which I believe. But in what way also? In what way is it inferior? Because in power and might, in their imperialism and how much they took over, Rome was more powerful, and Greece was extremely powerful during the. He says he's the great horn in Daniel 8. He's the great.
So
horn.
what does Larkin say?
There's one common denominator of what all of them do that would make. It's really the only denominator you can
Yeah.
see that would be the possible answer, is that they get more democratic.
Yeah. I have.
How interesting is that? You go from
More civil
It
rights.
also makes
And
sense
he
with the
goes-
prophetic application.
It does, and he writes it out on history. He's really good on history. I recommend him highly. But Babylon was the most top heavy in power. Basically, he could
Yep.
do and say what he wanted. The Medes and Persians, we actually see this
Civil rights. Yeah.
in Daniel.
Yep.
Remember, he wrote a law, but even he couldn't overcome it.
Yep.
He was subject to the law. So the next kingdom was more democratic, and then Greece was even more democratic, and Rome is like a carbon copy. If you watch Gladiator or any movie or anything like that, you'll
Yeah.
see how similar it is to the setup of America today. Senate and the emperor, and
Yep.
very much more.
The Pope being like a president. They have
So
their
the
own-
final Antichrist kingdom, which is the least powerful,
be the most
is going to
democratic.
be the most democratic. That goes against a lot of people and how they feel and what they think. I would challenge you to find me in the Bible that democracy is a good thing. Right?
You know,
Yeah,
Isn't democracy what
Well,
put
God-
Stalin in power?
God's whole plan of the greatest kingdom that would ever be set is just one reigned by His Son Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
And there is no democracy in that. He didn't even want a king set up, for those of you that don't know this, for the nation of Israel. Israel wanted the king. God said, I don't want to give you a king, but if I'm going to, these are the rules they need to follow. And they didn't do that. He never wanted a king in the first place. He wanted it fully ruled by His Son Jesus Christ. It's
And-
not a democracy.
And we see this today. A kingdom that is every voice matters and it's only the majority rules. You can't get anything done.
Well, yeah, that's even why
Everyone thinks they have a say.
the founding fathers, America's not a democracy. We're a constitutional republic.
Yeah, 100%.
for that
That's a good
reason.
point. That's a good point.
Because they knew what it led to.
Yes.
Yep. And when we
It's
become
mob
more
rule.
democracy, we have more issues over time, which I get it. People want to say, but at the end of the day, if you're a Bible believer, not everyone gets a say. The say is in the Bible.
The biblical pattern I see is there's someone in charge and God says, whoever it is, obey them. And I'll take care of everything else.
So summary of Daniel 2,
15.
it's a prediction. It isn't a prediction. It's a prophecy of the kingdoms to come, laying out exactly what they are. If you have Blue Letter Bible, turn to Daniel 2 at some point. It actually lays out those nations, like we just said. It's really easy to follow as headers. It's really nice.
Again, because
If
pretty
you
much
forget-
everyone agrees on them. That's
Yeah.
why I think they can do
This is
that.
historic. This has been proven and believed throughout the church, many places. So that's Daniel 2, talking about the kingdoms to come, leading to Rome, which is still technically in charge today.
Yeah.
All right.
But chapter 7, are we going into chapter 7?
Yeah, let's go to
now?
7.
So again, though, chapter 2 sets the stage. Chapter 7 is really going to build off of and give you more characteristics of these kingdoms, I would say. Kind of, chapter 2 lays out who they are in a sense, and I'd say chapter 7 kind of tells us, a little bit deeper characteristics. Wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. There's a chart I'll also attach to our episode at some point, but it shows that each time, each of these prophecies gets more specific. The first one focused on 5 kingdoms, Babylon, Media Persia, Greece, Rome, final kingdom of the Antichrist. The next one focuses on Media Persia, Greece, Rome, final kingdom. And then Daniel 8 focuses just on Media Persia, Greece. Daniel 7, if you're there, let's go ahead and, Jane, do you want to start reading? Let's just maybe start reading in verse Let me start reading in verse 1. That'd be fun.
Yeah. In the first year of Belshazzar, king of Babylon, Daniel had a dream and visions of his head upon his bed. Then he wrote the dream and told the sum of the matters. Daniel spake and said, I saw in my vision by night, it's a key word there, is by night, and behold, the four winds of heaven strove upon the great sea. And the four great beasts came up from the sea, diverse one from another. The first was like a lion and had eagle's wings. I beheld till the wings thereof were plucked, and it was lifted up from the earth, and made stand upon the feet as a man, and a man's heart was given to it. And behold, another beast, a second, like to a bear, and it raised up itself on one side, and had 3 ribs in the mouth of it, between the teeth of it. And they said thus unto it, Arise, devour much flesh. After this I beheld, and lo, another like a leopard, which had upon the back of it 4 wings of a fowl. The beast had also 4 heads, and dominion was given to it. After this I saw in the night visions, again, night visions you see there, and behold, a 4th beast, dreadful and terrible and strong exceedingly. I just pulled a Caleb there. And it had great iron teeth. It devoured and brake in pieces, and stamped the residue with the feet of it. And it was diverse from all the beasts that were before it, and it had 10 horns. I considered the horns, and beheld, there came up another, among them another little horn, before whom there were 3 of the first horns plucked up by the roots. And behold, in this horn were eyes like the eyes of a man, and a mouth speaking great things. I mean, I can start off, I guess, while he's looking for something. So, again, you're going to see these visions by night, these night visions. And a key, when you see that phrase in your Bible, a lot of times the night, it's going to be talking about what?
End times.
End times, more
Leading up to,
specifically.
the church age.
Church age
too, yeah.
is the night. And I think, do we have a reference for that?
I do.
I think
Romans 13, 11 to 14. So these verses talk about how the church is that night, and it says this: in that knowing the time, that now it is high time to awake out of sleep. For now is our salvation nearer than when we believed. The night is far spent, the day is at hand. Let us therefore cast off the works of darkness, and let us put on the armor of light. So Paul wrote Romans to the church, and he's saying, hey, the night is far spent, the night's almost done. The nighttime's almost done. The day is about to come with Jesus Christ. We need to get to work. And so what we say there is that, okay, this period of the night, the church age that we live in, the church period, is in the night. It's in the darkness. It's in even the darkest parts of history that we have. You can look at 500 to 1500 AD, called the Dark Ages, all kinds of stuff. The church age being a picture of the night, of darkness.
Yeah. So you have the night, these night visions, again, picture of the church age. So you see that, and you need to be on alert. Okay, there's something going on here. These phrases in your Bible that you need to trace through Scripture. So coming up, he has this night dream. You should have things going on. Okay, he's having this dream, these 4 beasts, and the 4 beasts came up from the sea, exactly what we're going to see in Revelation 13 when we get there. But the first was like a lion, and it had eagle's wings. And the wings were plucked, and it was lifted up from the earth, and it was made stood upon its feet as a man, and a man's heart was given to it. So you want to jump into the line?
Yeah, so I guess we're going to be looking at these, it's probably going to be just helpful to note that we are saying that there is a historical application to these, that these do represent, just like the image in Daniel 2, these represent kingdoms that arose directly after Babylon. These are kings that shall arise out of the earth. So the next one would have been Media Persia, which we believe to be the lion. And the next one would have been Greece, which we believe to be the bear. And then the next one would have been the leopard, which we believe to be Rome. Same exact order, but he's giving more specifics because Babylon was at the end of its kingdom now. Now it's the next kingdoms that are arising, and he's giving a new picture of it. And in this picture, he says again, by night. It's a specific wording like, hey, there's something else to this. And then if that wasn't enough, this is the only who's the counterpart to Daniel in the Bible? John in the book of Revelation. They are best friends. They are connected like this. Daniel and Revelation. This is the only of Daniel's visions that shows up in Revelation 13. Is the same
in Revelation
beast in Revelation in the whole book of Revelation.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it shows up in Revelation 13. So again, screaming, there's an end times application to this as well. Absolutely, there's a historical application.
Why would he repeat himself anyway if he wasn't going to tell us something deeper, this prophetic sense, if he wasn't going to add to the...
And he could have just kept the statue.
He could have just kept the statue and not even had this in here.
Yeah.
But he's throwing this in here again. He's throwing in these keywords and these key phrases because there's something else deeper here that he's trying to reveal.
And in Daniel, you find that happens quite often. So the lion with eagle's wings that were plucked. A lions, I'm just going to read some notes I have. Lions are magnificent, elegant animals of power and strength. They're confident, organized, they're methodic in their hunting and defending and everything they do. Persia, Media Persia, or I've heard Medo Persia from weirdos, is also in type as England. Okay? Now, we're going to prove this out later, but keep that in mind. The lion with the sun in the background has been associated with the area of Iran, modern-day Persia. Look that up. Look up the Persian flag.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is
Flag of Iran.
Yep.
Since 333 BC, and the Iranian flag is from 1846 to 1980. The symbol of the lion is still prominent throughout Iran. King Cyrus's tomb is in Iran. The symbol of Persian Empire when Cyrus conquered was that of an eagle with its wings spread. And then we'll get on later in the next part into what that represents modern day. I'm not going to do that right now. And you have a lion with eagle's wings plucked from it, which we're going to keep that in mind as well. And then you have a bear. Bear was raised up on one side with 3 ribs in its mouth. The bear is the strongest beast after this is the strongest bear. It's the strongest beast after the lion. It does not have the agility and majesty of the lion. It's much more awkward and brute in its movement. It's just brute force. Greece, the symbol of the bear, has never represented the empire of Greece. However, the character qualities of the bear's power certainly describe the conquest and government of Alexander the Great in history. Many people have pointed this out, and the generals that succeeded him in power. There's going to be another tongues thing on top of that, isn't there? There are no legitimate theories on what the 3 ribs might represent in regard to Greece historically. There's a lot of different guesses on it, but nothing in concrete. And then you have the leopard that comes after the bear. And I'm going to explain this here in a second. The leopard is a composite-looking big cat, multicolored with spots. It's an opportunistic hunter, adaptable to many habitats, and aided by its quickness. It's very quick. It's very agile. It's stealthy and consumes any animal it catches completely, which is really interesting. In history, the leopard was believed to be a hybrid of the lion and panther. Rome was considered a melting pot empire, a composite of many cultures and customs. Even look in the Bible. It gets confusing with there were Jewish leaders over Jewish areas, but they were Roman leaders because they would conquer and they would just melting pot, make a melting pot just like another country does today in many ways. You're probably thinking of a country right now on the top of your head.
That is known and historically called a melting pot.
Yeah.
Yeah, just FYI.
In which citizenship had many privileges through its laws. Consider the conversion of the Apostle Paul and his conversation with a chief captain of Rome in Acts 22:25 through 29. The Roman Empire was a place where ideas and information were quickly passed around like never before in history, mixing cultures and societies. The Roman Empire had a significant impact on West civilization and is summarized with this catchphrase: all roads lead to Rome. The Roman government was the first worldwide representative government with 4 heads. Again, 4 heads, democratic. We talked about that earlier. What we're saying is there's many people, everybody in history, again, I'll go, can I make this point?
Yeah, of course.
Just so everyone is clear that we're not making this part
I
up.
like how you ask when you're going to do it anyway.
Historically, everybody pretty much agrees that these animals are another prophecy of historical countries.
Yes.
The question is which ones? And I'll just tell you straight up. Pretty much everybody thinks that the lion here, the first one, represents Babylon, and the bear represents Media Persia, and the leopard represents Greece, and then this 4th and terrible, dreadful beast represents Roman Empire historically. And so there's no future application.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's what most people think. But there's a few problems with that. The first one being what we already said, which is that these are kings which what?
Shall arise.
Shall arise. And this was told to Belshazzar, I want to say like the night before or the night of the fall of the Babylonian Empire.
It's like really close.
It's like that. Like this was him saying, hey, you're done and this is what's coming after you. But most people, they make a lot of historical reasons why the lion was associated with Babylon and all that stuff. But if you take the Bible at face value, the lion cannot be Babylon because these are kings which shall arise out of the earth. And let me give you one more point, okay? Go ahead and look at Daniel. Let's see here. Daniel 7, verse 23. Okay, 7:23. And this is really important because a lot of people do not make these connections. Thus he saith, the 4th beast shall be the 4th kingdom upon the earth, which shall be diverse from all kingdoms. It shall devour the whole earth and shall tread it down and break it in pieces. And the 10 horns out of this kingdom are 10 kings that shall arise. And another shall arise after them, and he shall be diverse from the first and shall subdue 3 kings. Okay, so we see that. And then we see in 26 and 27, what happens to that final kingdom? There is a 10-horned kingdom here, right? Which was what? A mixture of all the other beasts. Isn't that what it tells us? Yes?
Yeah.
We read about the fourth beast earlier, right?
Yeah.
Okay. It was diverse from all the other beasts. It was a mixture. When you go to Revelation 13, you find out it was a mixture of these three beasts, the lion, the leopard, and the bear. So it was a mixed kingdom, just like when we saw earlier. There was iron mixed with what?
Clay.
And how many toes were on that iron mixed with clay?
10.
10. Oh, and there's 10 kings and 10 horns on this beast. So a mixed beast with 10 kings, and then a mixed kingdom earlier with 10 toes, and then there was kingdoms that came before it. We saw that earlier. Okay, so those are two really important things. And then what happens to this kingdom? Verse 26. But the judgment shall sit, and they shall take away his dominion and consume and destroy it to the end. And the kingdom and dominion and the greatness of the kingdom under the whole heaven shall be given to the people of the saints of the Most High, whose kingdom is an everlasting kingdom, and all dominions shall serve and obey him. Okay, so what happens to that final kingdom, this fourth one? It's
like
taken
it's
over
destroyed.
and destroyed at the second coming by Jesus' kingdom. Oh, so that's the same thing we saw in Daniel 2. So let's back that up. And this is where we can find biblically what these kings and these animals represent historically. You have a 10-toed kingdom, iron mixed with clay. That was the Antichrist's final kingdom. There's 10 of the toes, 10 horns, or 10 toes, and iron mixed with clay, a mixed kingdom. And then in Daniel 7, you have a 10-horned beast that is a mixture of multiple other beasts. Both are destroyed by Jesus' kingdom of the second coming, right?
Yep.
So we can agree these are the same ones that he's talking about, but with different pictures and prophecies.
Yes.
Back that up one more. What came before that beast was the leopard. What came before the 10 toes and iron mixed with clay was iron. So the leopard and the iron are the same.
Yeah.
Leopard is Rome, iron is Rome.
Yep.
And then you back that up one more. Then the brass was Greece, right?
Yes.
And the bear was Greece. And then the silver was Media Persia and the lion was Media Persia. That's using the biblical, what he gave you, the connections he gave you, to find out and back up to what each of them are. Not guessing based on, and I love Larkin, but Larkin, he's like, well, the lion, when you go to ancient Babylonian ruins, you see the lion on all their stuff. And okay, those are great points, but the Bible's telling us what these are. When you just back them up and clearly follow the pattern, study the passages, and follow what they are. And these are ones that shall arise, right?
Does that make sense,
What do you guys think about that?
Corey?
Yeah, no, that tracks for sure.
Okay. So basically, a lot of people in here will start this first beast with Babylon. You have some problems with it. Doesn't line up with Daniel 2, and it doesn't line up when it says with these kingdoms which shall arise. So, and again, this is written during the time of the Babylonian captivity, correct?
Yes.
This is all tracking. So
I
that is really
believe.
really the problem. That's where you're starting with Babylon or you're starting after Babylon. We would start after Babylon again because it lines up with Daniel 2 and because it says these are kings or kingdoms which shall arise, and this is during the Babylonian captivity when
Yeah.
it's being written.
Not to mention
Go ahead.
lions are cats and cats Persia.
Come on, that's actually a great point. I didn't even think about that.
So when you look at the statue in Daniel 2, just for summary, because I know there's a lot of names. When you look at the picture of the statue in Daniel 2, there's 5 kingdoms. Okay, there's Babylon, and then there's the chest region, which would be
Media Persia.
and then there's the abdominal region, which would be Greece, and then the legs, which would be Rome, and then the feet mixed with iron and clay, which would be the Antichrist,
Final kingdom.
the final kingdom, the final tribulation kingdom. So 5. Now, when you go to Daniel 7, you only have 4 beasts. So they don't line up exactly perfect with the statue. So what do I mean by that? And this is where Luke's going to put the picture of. There's 5, right? If there's 5 kingdoms in Daniel 2, and there's 4 beasts, all we're saying is they just shift down 1.
And it lines up because, again, 10 horns, 10 toes,
Yep.
mixed kingdom, destroyed second coming, destroyed second coming.
Yeah, so Daniel 7, Daniel's basic, God's like, hey, why would I include more detail about Babylon? You're going to fall like tomorrow almost.
Yeah.
You're done. I'm not going to give you more detail. I'm going to give more detail about the kingdom, the 4 major kingdoms that are going to come after you. And so all we see is that Daniel 7 starts to peel back more detail and focuses in more on those 4 coming kingdoms, major world powers that are going to come.
And if the fourth beast here, because again, they would say the mixed kingdom is ancient Rome, 2,000 years ago.
Yeah.
Because the leopard then was Greece.
Yeah.
And the fourth, so then they're saying there's no future application in Daniel 7. This doesn't jump forward to the second coming,
Yep.
even though we see that Jesus' kingdom overtakes this final kingdom, and there's no future application to it. And so then Rome would be in power when Jesus takes. It's messy. It doesn't make sense. And so that is important to know which of these line up with which. And then also, just like we said with Rome before, the iron goes into the final kingdom, right?
Yep.
And then the beasts here, these beasts, the lion, the bear, and the leopard, go into the fourth final kingdom as well.
The beast.
So this one, guys, prophecy, we could be here forever. I mean, I'm not lying to you. We could be here forever talking about the details of Daniel and the prophecies and all that. There's so many different truths God is trying to communicate. And in this one, he takes it a step further from Daniel 2 and communicates that there's specifically a prophetic application to kingdoms that will be here at the end of the world. And also that not just Romanism goes into the final kingdom, but there's actually elements of these other ones that go into it as well. And also, I know I mentioned this earlier, but it's worth pointing out. Look at verse 9 in Daniel 7. Verse 8, there's a little horn before whom there were three of the first horns plucked up by the roots, and behold, this horn were eyes like the eyes of man and a mouth speaking great things. So that was the final fourth beast, the mixture of all the other ones. And then verse 9, I beheld, so the thrones were cast down, and the Ancient of Days did sit, whose garment was white as snow. Jesus Christ again right there, taking over with his kingdom. So just to clarify that, I knew there was one that was clear, and I didn't read it earlier. But now we want to talk about Daniel 7, not just historically what they represent, but there is a prophetic application of the end days to how that we know this. And let me give a few reasons why before Caleb reads in Revelation 13. Daniel in many ways mirrors the book of Revelation, right? We just said that.
Yeah.
Daniel and John are counterparts. Actually, we won't get into this today.
Passing each
Some
other
people
by.
think they pass each other
Yeah.
in time, which is
Yeah.
crazy thought, but there is some evidence. It makes sense that Daniel, think about it, would give 4 separate prophecies and accounts concerning future world events right before Jesus' first coming, right? Daniel 2 statue, Daniel 7 beast, Daniel 8 he goat and ram, and then the kings of the north and south.
Yep.
4 accounts before Jesus' first coming, just like John gives 4 accounts of future events, the tribulation and Revelation.
Revelation.
Each of the prophecies gives further detailed look at the history that would occur, just like the seals give vague description, then the trumpets give more, and the vials give more, and then the 7 personages give more. It's a really interesting connection. So it makes sense. But also think about this. Daniel gave us the kingdoms that would arise before Jesus' first coming historically. But in Daniel 7, with that word, the night, and then also with it showing up again in Revelation, he's giving you these hints that there's a future application of kingdoms. These also represent kingdoms that would arise before Jesus' second coming.
Yeah.
Isn't that interesting?
And again, this is the Daniel 7. This is the only spot in Daniel, the only prophecy in Daniel that you're going to see again in the book of Revelation. What does that tell you? That this isn't just something that happened historically in the past. Again, why would he just repeat himself to give us the exact same story that he just gave us in
Yeah.
Daniel 2? Well, he repeats it in Revelation 13. Why? To show us there is something else here. There is a prophetic, a future application here that you and people that don't take that actually run into problems.
Yeah.
Aren't there that there's weird groups of people that think tribulation already happened?
Yeah, preterists. They
70
say that all
AD.
these things already happened.
And a lot of it comes from this potentially where you have, oh, Jesus Christ is, I don't know, right from these chapters. Don't
I mean,
they take
that-
this because they don't take the prophetic application of it?
And that's a common theme all through the Bible. God repeats himself all the time throughout
Yeah.
the Bible.
What's funny is people say that with what was his name? What was that guy's name that defiled the temple before Jesus showed up?
Titus?
No,
Antiochus Epiphanes.
Epiphanes. Yeah,
Okay.
and they say that was the abomination of desolation, right? Preterists would
Yeah.
say that was a fulfillment of that. But then Jesus tells the disciples, when you see the abomination of desolation, 100 years later, whatever it was, Jesus
Yeah.
says, when you see this, run.
Yeah.
What was he saying? It hasn't happened yet.
Yeah.
So it's not biblical. But Caleb, go ahead and read Revelation 13, and let's look at those verses there. Or
Got
Jaden, whoever has it. Where are you at?
7.
So Revelation 13, starting in verse 1. And I stood upon the sand of the sea and saw a beast rise up out of the sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns. Exactly what we saw earlier.
Well, that's an interesting connection, but not enough, right?
And
yet.
just FYI, which one does he start with, Jaden, when he's describing his?
7 heads and 10
No,
horns.
he goes backwards.
He
He's over here.
he starts with the beast, right?
Oh, yeah.
I just want to make that point now. He starts with the
No, he doesn't say this is that final beast.
That's what I'm saying. He starts with the
Yeah.
final beast. So Daniel
leopard.
ends with the
Yeah.
final beast. John
Once he reads
starts
this,
his
I would point
description.
that out because
Yeah.
that's really cool.
Yeah. So, and I stood upon the sand of the sea and saw a beast rise up out of the sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns. And upon his horns 10 crowns, and upon his heads the name of blasphemy. And the beast which I saw was like unto a leopard, and his feet were as the feet of a bear, and his mouth as the mouth of a lion. It's exact order that we just see in Daniel.
And there was 10 horns.
10
And
horns.
it calls him a beast?
beasts.
Wait a second. Hold
same
on
beast.
a second.
Opposite order, though. That's the point. I'm
Opposite
making.
order. So
Exact-
why?
Working back.
Yeah.
Point that out.
We will in a second. I want Jane
Oh.
to finish up.
Say what
Well,
you need to say.
you say what you were going to say about the beast because
Okay.
he's there.
So this is kind of what we were talking about earlier. Daniel was looking forward in time, right? He was prophesying the future. John just told us what had already happened. Because remember, John, he was actually transported. If you look at if you look at Revelation chapter 1, it talks about, and then chapter 3, you can see that John has moved into the future.
Yeah.
And so he's in the future.
He's in the
now.
spirit on the Lord's day, the day of the Lord.
Yeah.
The day of the Lord, the second coming, the tribulation, all that. And so he has seen, as he's transported in the future, right now, he is looking back and he's telling us what everything that had just happened. So he has the opposite view of Daniel. Daniel looks forward. John is looking back in time. Daniel describes the beasts in chronological order. John describes the beast that came out of the sea in reverse order. Why? Because John's looking back in time.
Yeah, the order in Daniel 7 is he says the lion, and then he saw the bear, and then the leopard. And then in John, he says he saw the leopard,
Bear,
lion.
lion,
Backwards.
backwards.
Which is really interesting. It's just an interesting thing to look at. And then in Daniel 7, let's just, while you're in Revelation 13, let's just make sure we're making all the connections that are there to make sure we're looking at the same thing. Because this is the only other one that shows up in
Came up
Revelation.
out of the sea as well.
The sea. Okay, yep. But there's a great sea. And then what about, didn't you say there was a mouth speaking great things?
Verse 5.
Okay, and then in Daniel 7, verse 8, the little horn before whom there were three of the first horns plucked up by the roots, and behold, in this horn were eyes like the eyes of a man, and a mouth speaking great things. Okay, so the same beast being talked about, and there's this connection of this mouth speaking great things. And then we have the connection of, isn't there 10 horns on that one?
Yep.
Okay, there's 10 horns on this one. And then isn't there the same animals mentioned there that are mentioned here?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, so we are looking at the same thing here. This is the same beast. John is looking at the final beast. To make it clear, John is looking at the fourth beast of Daniel chapter 7, which was a combination of all the three that came before it.
And that's a key right there.
That's a key right
it's
there.
a combination of the three beasts that came before it.
And so now, putting all this together, what does this mean? If you ask the question, what place does America have in the end times? You're like, when are you going to answer my question? We're going to answer it right now. This is where we're getting to. What place does America have in the end times? We just showed you in Daniel 7, there was a prophetic future application to these beasts and to this final beast specifically. This is the beast that is there when you look at verse 9 of Daniel 7. When Jesus shows up at the second coming, he destroys that final fourth kingdom beast that's a mixture of all the other ones. Just like Jesus destroyed the 10-toed iron mixed with clay final kingdom of the statue. And then John mentions the same beast of Daniel 7 in Revelation 13. He says that it's happening right now in the end times when he's describing the tribulation and all those things. He describes this beast. And in Daniel 7, we see that it was a vision by night. So this beast goes beyond history. This isn't just representative of Media Persia and Greece and Rome. Unless you believe that in Revelation 13 and in the future at Jesus' second coming, the major powers in play that the Antichrist is using are Persia, Greece, and Rome. And not Rome as we think of Rome, but the political power of Rome, because that's what beasts represent, is the national military power. Not the woman represents something else, totally. But unless you think that those are what he's talking about in Revelation 13, there's a deeper
Which is
meaning.
obviously not. I mean, Greece has no power. Greece is a bunch of losers. Did you watch the Olympics last year? I mean, come on. We dog Greece.
All right. So then what are we saying here? It's been pointed out by many, based on the evidence of this beast showing up in Revelation 13, a division happening at night, and the fact that there's more to these than just historical kingdoms, that there's actually a doctrinal prophetic application to the kingdoms that would arise right before Jesus' second coming.
Yeah.
Okay, now let's find out what those are. The lion.
So what are we talking about? We're talking about the beasts in Daniel 7
Yep.
that Daniel prophesies of. That's really what we're talking about. And then that John redescribes.
Well, it's the
Yes.
same beast. So yeah.
Well, it's the same fourth beast, but he's a combination of the other three. So you have to find out who those three are to know what his kingdom is made of.
yes.
Does that make sense?
Yep.
So let's just do that in Daniel 7.
Corey, does that make sense?
Yeah.
Tracking.
The first was like
Micah.
a lion and had eagle's wings. I beheld till the wings thereof were plucked. What country today, in its infancy state, maybe we'll say,
The last 1,000 years even, let's say.
has been associated with an eagle?
Corey.
USA. USA.
Okay, well, that's interesting.
Yeah.
But then is there a country that represents the lion that we were plucked off of? Because that would, I mean, if not, then obviously this falls apart.
Where were we
Wait a
plucked
second.
off of?
Oh, wait, it was
Out of.
It was Britain.
Yep.
Yeah.
It was the UK.
England.
Who's had a lion
Okay.
on their coat of arms for how long?
I've been to the United Kingdom 5 times in my life. If I called Michaela right now and said, "Hey, what's the national symbol of Wales?" I bet my whole entire
Of
everything I
Wales?
have. I'm telling you right now, I'm making a
Oh,
point.
you mean the place?
Yes, of Wales. Of Wales in the UK. I would bet everything I have that she would know the answer is a red dragon. I would bet everything I have. It's everywhere when you go there.
Call her.
And when you go, you guys want me to do it?
No.
Let's do it right now. Hold on. Let's do it. She's gonna be live on the show. This is my wife, everybody. Oh, please, honey. I don't want to lose
She
her.
doesn't answer, then
She'll answer.
she's
Yeah.
probably
Let's
out.
put this on.
The
for
answer. What
everybody.
do you want? I'm busy.
Hey, you're live on the show with us really fast.
Okay.
What? When I say that they're the symbol of Wales, what is it?
Dragon.
Anything more
Red
specific? The red, yeah, there you go, the red dragon. Thank you, honey. Wait, what about of England? You've been to England with me multiple times. What about London, England?
Lion.
The lion?
Yes.
Thanks, honey. She's a genius. All right, guys, you have it there from my wife.
Done deal. Sealed now.
The lion has been representative of England for years. You go there, I mean, literally, when you go to the bridge where you cross this big bridge where there's the Congressional building and their FBI type building. I forget what it's called now.
MI6.
MI6, yes, it's all right there. It's a major spot. There is a giant lion statue on the
You
bridge.
put some pictures too up on the.
I'll put some pictures up of every time I've gone there. I've made sure to take pictures of the lions because of this exact reason. The lion represents Britain, and the eagle's wings represent America being plucked from Britain.
Yep.
Now, maybe you think that's crazy if we just read that into the passage, but we just told you in Revelation in 13, there is a kingdom where these show up again in the end times.
Yeah.
Right before Jesus' second coming, there are players and kingdoms that are major players in power. And so if they don't represent this, then you need to tell us what they represent. Because I'm looking at this and saying, that makes sense to me, right? Well, okay, well then what comes after the lion and the eagle's wings were plucked from it? Behold, another beast. It was like a bear. Is there a country today that is a major power that is associated with bears? And we'll put up the pictures right here
Bears.
and right here
Beats.
and right here.
Battlestar Galactica.
Okay? What country is associated with the bear that came into power right around or after the time of
Everyone
Britain's
knows
power?
this. It's Russia.
It's Russia. It's
Everyone
Russia.
knows.
And they had power. And then many people have pointed out that the ribs in their mouth, actually one guy specifically wrote in a book 50, 60 years ago that Russia, based on this
That was
prophecy.
not 50 or 60 years ago.
Probably.
He wrote Daniel. Was
Oh,
one
he
of the
wrote
last books
Daniel.
he
Yeah,
wrote.
he didn't write Daniel that long ago. So maybe 10 or 20 years ago.
Mhm.
10, 15, 20 years ago.
Before the last 5 years.
He said that the bear, because he believed exactly what we're teaching you right now, he said that the bear is Russia. And then he said, eventually they're going to attack and try to occupy Ukraine, and they're not going to stop because it's one of the ribs in the bear's mouth.
Yep.
He said, I don't know what the other two are off the top of my head, but that will happen. Just like Larkin did with a lot of things in history. If you believe the Bible and you read it and you look around we're not reading into the Bible what's going on in the world, but we are saying that we live in the end times. If you believe that,
We can see it.
we can see it. Okay, and then what comes after the bear? After this, we beheld, and lo, another like a leopard, which had upon its back 4 wings and as a fowl, and the beast had 4 heads, and dominion was given to it. So the 4 heads, well, there's many things about the leopard, okay? It's a melting pot. It's a mixture. You guys want to discuss that at all? I mean, yeah, I know you guys know about these different qualities.
So you get into the white belly.
Yes, so it represents white with black spots and yellow spots. It represents all different peoples, as the Bible even puts it. Ham, Shem, Japheth,
Races.
white, black, and then fair, like a mix.
Yep.
You have the yellow parts of the leopard, which is like a mixture, European, Asian, whatever. The white, and then you have the black. So the leopard has this mixture.
Shem, Ham, and Japheth. A lot of people draw it. You draw it all the way back.
Exactly. The leopard is a mixture of all these. It's a melting pot. No country is known to be a melting pot quite like the United States. And in fact, everybody expects us to be. Other countries are like, well, we don't want to take these people in, but will you? You guys do it? Because that's what we are. We're a melting pot of all sorts of peoples. Well, the 4 heads with Rome, it was pretty simple. They found out what they was. The 4 heads were, there was 4 heads of their democracy at the time. With America, what would those 4 heads be? I have my opinion. I know what other people say. There's judicial, executive, and legislative branches. And then 4 people, most people say the 4th branch of government's been a saying for a long time, apparently, is the people.
Yep.
The people are. I say it like, if you go to D.C. today, there's 4 major buildings that are your 4 major heads of government. Nobody ever gets it. And then when I say it, they're like, I always forget that. You have the White House, which is the executive branch, Supreme Court, which is where the judicial system. But then the other one is not just one.
Senate and the representatives.
It's the Senate, and then the House of Representatives, which are 2 major powers, but split in it. So that's how I see it. But however you look at it, the leopard, a melting pot, the final one And then there's all the 4 heads of it and the melting. Again, all of that we see came into play after the bear. So yes, America in its infancy was representative of an eagle plucked from the lion, but now today in its full force and power, because what you find out is these beasts represent national military power and strength. All of the beasts do.
So what is this to say? Basically, all this breaks down to these prophetic nations, America. How do we fit in? Well, this beast in Revelation chapter 13, the beast that we just read about, the Antichrist kingdom, his beast, the body, the main part of who he is like unto a leopard. The leopard, prophetically, Daniel chapter 7, is who?
Is America. And that is what we believe. If you don't believe that, then in Revelation, it's really simple. If you don't believe that and you think what we just said is made up and we made a lot of leaps, okay, fine, whatever. In Revelation 13, there is undoubtedly a beast who is a mixture of multiple different kingdoms.
Yep.
Just like we saw in Daniel 7. There's no questioning that. It is a mixture of kingdoms or beasts, which in the Bible, the foundation of all this, the Bible defines beasts as military and kingdom powers. Okay?
That's funny you mentioned that, because I was just thinking about, where does the beast rise up from? The sea. Traditionally, what military force has been the most powerful? If you had the most powerful navy, you were.
It's a good point.
Yeah. Because
and it comes
are you
up out
talking
of
about
the sea.
America?
Who has a great navy? Britain had a great navy.
Oh.
United States has a great navy. Russia has, I think, the 3rd strongest navy.
Not only
Really
that,
good point.
the U.S. did come from the sea. When we split off from England, when we had people start to come over, we came up out of the sea, being the Atlantic. So once again, you have, I mean, just that picture of, this nation that we overtook, we come from them. How many colonies did we start our country with? 13. The number of rebellion, the number of the Antichrist. Like, there's so many other things that actually start to tie this into the end times.
So can we just state the undisputed facts to maybe end, and so then people can make their own decisions?
In the mouth that speaks great things, being the English language, by the way.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Just curious. I mean, again, it's going to be the
Mouth like a lion. What's the
National
language of
universal language of the world.
of England? Started with England. English.
Yeah.
exactly.
So there's a lot of things here that you could look at, but ultimately, if you just look at history and look at the lion, what it represented, the eagle's wings, what it represented, the bear who came up after that and what it represents, and the powers that be, and it's exactly the order of Britain being in power, and then Russia having a power for a short time, and then the leopard ultimately being in power, you can see prophetically that this, in Revelation 13 specifically and in Daniel 7, has a prophetic application to the kingdoms that will be in power before the second coming. Just like Daniel gave us the powers that would be before his first coming. Same exact way. When Jesus showed up the first time, Rome was in power. Yes?
Yep.
When Jesus shows up the second time, I'm telling you, America will either be itself in power or the main body of the final power, like we see in Revelation 13.
It's both.
The beast.
Controlled by
I was actually going to mention this. It's both. So in Revelation 17, let's go to verse 3. It says this. So he carried me away into the spirit in the wilderness, and I saw a woman sit upon a scarlet-colored beast, full of names of blasphemy, having 7 heads and 10 horns. And the woman was arrayed in purple and scarlet color, and decked with gold and precious stones and pearls, having a golden cup in her hand, full of abominations and filthiness of her fornication. So, real quick, I just want to make clear who this woman is. This woman is the Roman Catholic Church. We will prove this in future weeks. I think we're actually going to do a whole controversial topic on this one. This is the Roman Catholic Church. And notice who she's using, who she's controlling. Well, for now, it says right there in verse 3, it's the beast. The beast that we described in Revelation 13, the beast that we just said, that body of the leopard, that mixed leopard, which should be the United States.
the body of the beast. Again, the beast meaning it's a combination of the previous kingdoms. The body, the main part that's going to be used is the leopard body, melting pot, like we described, United States.
So
that's the beast that she's controlling.
That she is controlling, that she is using. Okay. And then what's cool though is you find out a lot of people will join these together, that they're the same. They're not.
No.
Okay. The Roman Catholic Church in Rome, we know in the end times, it's going to use somehow this beast, the United States, and to get what it wants. But what's funny is as you read into Revelation 18 and 19, eventually the beast flips the script. In the Roman Catholic Church, this woman is obliterated and destroyed. Yeah. And so the beast, which would be the really represent the king, the kingdom, the power, the strength of the Antichrist, the devil's, Satan's kingdom at the end of the world, has all the power. The Roman Catholic Church is going to try to use that power with the United States, and then it's going to get flipped, and they're going to get destroyed.
Yeah.
And that goes back to Daniel 2.
There's so many things to say here, but in Daniel 2, God gives us one aspect of prophecy where he teaches us that the Rome of ancient Rome goes all the way down into the final mixed kingdom of 10 toes, 10 horns, that final Antichrist kingdom 2,000 years later, right? But Rome today is not in power like a leopard.
Right.
That leopard, that iron Rome is gone. But he's telling us that there's still Romanism somehow that made its way there. How? Not through a leopard, not through a national military power, but through a woman who behind the scenes, a mystery Babylon, mystery form, controls this kingdom. This kingdom is a ferocious beast that Daniel and John said was dreadful, but this woman controls it.
Yep.
And so their power is still there in the final kingdom in a totally different form. The leopard she uses, again, biblically, I believe you can prove this. The leopard, the main body of that final kingdom, that mixed beast being a leopard and then the bear and then the lion, she uses that.
Yep.
I believe that is pointing to that the Roman Catholic Church controls the leopard, America, and others have put it that the bear, that we become communist in many ways, and that's what moves us is communism, and then the English speaking. There's a lot of different parts that go into that, but however you want to say it, she controls that final kingdom, which is really mainly the body of it, America, which brings in the American Pope being an interesting.
Yeah, I was going to say, we can already see the Catholic infiltration in our country through our government and how many Catholics we have in our government through the American Pope. We can already see, again, Catholics have been trying to infiltrate American government and democracy since that's been their plan since the beginning.
Well, yeah, going back even like to Kennedy.
Yep.
It was a big deal that
was.
Kennedy was Catholic.
Yep.
And now nobody bats an eye.
No.
Well, just why, though?
See what our founding fathers, see some of their quotes about Catholics.
Yeah, this isn't us conspiracy. This is like well-documented founding fathers were concerned with anyone being Catholic and being in charge, because then there would be someone religiously controlling that government.
Yeah.
This is exactly what
There's always that mixture of government and
And wait, she commits fornication with the kings of the earth. Isn't that what it says?
Yep.
It's really interesting.
which honestly, when they talk about separation of churches and state, which doesn't actually exist the way we use it today, but that could have been a big part of it. Just they saw that control that the Roman Catholic Church had.
Corey, that was it.
Yeah.
That was it. Like that
That's
church
why.
and state were never meant
Yeah.
to be together. The only church-state thing we see in the Bible is Revelation 17 and 18.
Yep.
That's a church-state religion. And then Daniel 2, the Romanism, we see that. I would also like to point out that there is a weird connection with Lot is a great picture in the Bible of the rapture of the believers, just Lot, who is justified, pulled out of Sodom before God destroyed it, tribulation, second coming. And what was it, that power that he was pulled out of was Sodom, which I think is a lot of correlations with America today. And then when you also look at what I said earlier, and this is why it was important, we mentioned the degrading of materials. What is that final kingdom we said with the one common denominator? What would it make it the most degraded? It would be the most what?
Most civil, the most democratic.
Democratic. Which what is the nature in the whole nature of the last church age?
It uses its policies.
Yes, through policy he
according
causes
to Daniel
crafts to prosper.
Yep.
Through policy. But then also we see in Revelation 3 the nature of the last church age would be civil rights, Laodicean. It would be all about rights, civil rights, democracy. So the most democratic kingdom that has ever existed on this earth is America.
Yeah.
It is majority rule, and people now really want it to just be majority rule, getting rid of the electoral college and all that. That is what they want, and it's more than any other one. So everything screams that we would be part of that Antichrist kingdom. If it's not us, this is really simple. The facts are these. The facts are these, guys. This is what we can see in Daniel 2, 7, in Revelation 13. Here are the facts that are indisputable. There will be some mixture of multiple kingdom with 10 horns, 10 toes, 10 kings that will be here at the second coming that Jesus will destroy. Now, who is that? We are telling you that there's prophecy to say that we are part of that, and the other countries that we're looking at around, Britain and Russia, to some extent, are part of it as well, because of these prophecies and what we see in the world. If you don't think that, the burden of proof is on you. Who is it then? because it's somebody. The
Ancient
Bible
Rome.
teaches us it's somebody.
And who
Or
does that
The
beast?
other option is that it's ancient Media, Persia, Greece, and Rome.
Yeah, which does
And-
make sense.
yeah.
And that beast will have relation in some way, shape, or form, or cohesion with the Roman Catholic Church. But at the end of the day, that beast is ran and turned by the Antichrist, which is Satan himself,
Exactly.
at the 3.5 year mark. And so they think that they're using these things, but the beast always has the power. That's what you find as you read in Revelation. Satan himself, he keeps the power. In fact, when you read Revelation, he just starts wiping out all his own people. Like he wipes out his own enemies. Like when hell's opened up and all those things come out of hell, they don't pick and choose. They wipe it out. They wipe out everything. Satan has his own army now on the planet. He doesn't need powers of the earth anymore. It's crazy. And that would be the beast. Really, in summary, what we've been talking about, Daniel 2, Daniel 7, Revelation 13, and then we got into 17 and 18, just like we talked about. Daniel was prophesying of future world powers and nations that would really take over in the future of that time, the nations that it would lead into, how that Rome was never fully destroyed and it continued to leak into the church age and is still even in the Vatican in power today and will be a major player in the end times. In Revelation, we see that all over the place. You can't get around it. Who the beast is, how the U.S. is involved in that, our possible role in the way that we play along the end times, where we might be at in that. These are all things we've been talking about today. So if you have any questions about anything that we've said today, once again, post in the comments. You guys have seen we are interacting in the comments with what you have to say. We want to know what you think. We want to know what you have to say. Doesn't mean we're going to agree with it, but that's okay. But we're always going to come back with the Bible. So thanks for listening here. If you have any questions along the way, other topics you want us to talk about, feel free to post them down in the comments. We will make sure to answer your questions. Thank you very much.